Yes, I just did this same idea in the Switch port of Skyrim a few months ago, but I initially had the idea for Fallout 4 when it was announced for the system, before Skyrim did its Skyrim thing and spread itself to yet another device. With that said, if a quick refresher is needed, the idea is as it says. I am going to try and finish Fallout 4 from booting the game up for the first time, all the way to the end of the main quest, before the battery says goodnight. If Skyrim was anything to go by, then that gives me around 3 hours. More than doable for a speedrunner, I imagine, but despite how much I have replayed Fallout 4, I never once bothered to learn a single speedrun trick. I'm recording with my phone again because it's funny, and I have nostalgia for those early days of gaming content on the platform, plus if I take too long, you get to see the console die in real time. Although I did sit in a darker room this time away from any windows to avoid light from that strange orb in the sky that's been hovering over the UK lately. Finally, just like before, if you see a blur filter, it's just to cover my face in the screen's reflection. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin. I start the game up for the first time, and then it's straight into a fresh save. Honestly, cannot remember the last time I did the full pre-war section rather than just started the vault exit. I accidentally switched to Nora, and rather than waste more precious seconds going back to Nate, I just stick with her. She seems to speak faster than Nate in general, so if I run into that bug I've seen where sometimes I can't skip certain lines of dialogue, this may prove to be a blessing. I meander around the house poking everything like an alien pretending to be human, while I await Colonel Roy Campbell to arrive and sign me up for the program. This is your mandatory Metal Gear reference of the video, please subscribe. Anyway, I put 8 points into Endurance, Charisma and Agility, leaving the rest at 1. Endurance and Agility for basically the same reason. The former allows me to sprint for longer, as the higher it is, the slower our AP drains while sprinting, and the latter simply to increase my max AP in general. Charisma was kinda just a colossal screw-up on my part. The plan was to use it to talk my way out of some situations, but as this is Combat 4, typically it's faster and more worthwhile to erase the competition with a mini-nuke rather than appeal to their feelings. I tickle the baby, spin the thing that plays the I'd rather be playing Fallout 3 sound effect, then after receiving his sandwich-based paycheck, get informed by Ron Perlman it's time to sprint to the vault. You ever find it weird how the front door understands the severity of the situation and opens itself to let us escape quickly? No? Just me? Okay. On the platform, we narrowly avoid the blast, but probably still got a nice dose of radiation, so we let the doctors in the vault freeze it out of us. We watch the baby napping occur, go for our own nap, then wake up 60 odd years later and get to blasting through the vault. As the only restriction is the time limit, I can use anything at my disposal, so I make short work of the roaches with the nearby baton. I grab the 10mm in the Overseer's office as well, with the intention of it being my main weapon for this entire run. Despite it being the literal first gun you get, I distinctly remember using it for like 70% of my first ever casual playthrough, so I feel like if I get enough ranks in Gunslinger to up its damage when I can, then I should be good to go. Plus its ammo is cheap as all hell and everywhere, which is very handy. With the last bug squished and the Pip-Boy in hand, we leave, quickly grab any supplies in the surrounding area, then go to mark Sanctuary on the map for convenience. Also went home for the I'm Special book. Unfortunately, I pressed the A button one too many times and ended up putting the extra point into strength. Well, that sucks, but I ain't loading back, so I continue with a small amount of looting in the nearby shelter before grabbing the 2 frag grenades from the trash can and head for Concord. As I am just as geared up as the game expects you to be at this point, with no funny stipulations for once in my life, I can just shoot down the raiders, talk with the Minutemen, riddle the Deathclaw with the minigun, get my caps, and then feck off down the road after a job well done. I'll need the Minutemen later on to get me into the Institute. That is why I stopped to help them. The Brotherhood make you jump through multiple hoops and a long-ass vertibird ride that would waste too much time, and the railroad is the railroad. Not entirely necessary, but I remove Wolfgang's soul with bullets, then break Simone's kneecaps for good measure. This gets me more quick XP and some caps from Trudy to boot. I then immediately give her the money back in exchange for 79 more bullets. I also pass off some of the weapons and ammo from the raiders to make more money. I shouldn't need to do too much shopping, but it never hurts to be rich should I run out of healing supplies, as they are the one thing I am lacking as of now. Time to get this show on the road, so I start making my way southeast for Park Street Station, as that is the latest point which we can begin the main quest. I know with power armor you can glitch through the walls at Fort Hagen and deal with Kellogg early, I've done it once before, but that did not seem as fun. I then run past all of my trouble on the way, making one small but necessary detour. If you thought I was about to say I then massacred the railroad, I appreciate you watching enough of my videos to be on the same wavelength as me. But no, this time I'm just marking green tech for an easy fast travel point after meeting Virgil. We shall make it to the Old North Church though in due time. Before long I arrive and make sure to not piss off Swan, as while it's a fight that can easily be cheesed, it's not one worth the time investment lest I want to pivot into an unarmed build with a furious power fist. Down in the station, it's Triggerman time. On the bright side, many of them carry 10mm pistols, so by dispatching them all, I do come out net positive in the ammo department. On the flip side, the ones with submachine guns are kinda ripping me a new one in a record time if I'm not careful. Luckily, the section right before the vault door has a lot of cover to work with, and the enemies are too stupid a lot of the time to reposition themselves for a better shot. Combine that with the fact Fallout 4 lets you lean out of cover to fire, and it's not too much trouble to be the last one standing. I had to use a couple of my handful of stim packs I got from Vault 111 during the scuffle, so after the fight I conserve my resources by taking an hour-long snooze on this discarded mattress next to a corpse. Making it inside the vault, and it's rare to face off against more than 2 or 3 of them at a time, so it's a lot easier than the lead-up. Sure, there is this one section that has a good chunk of enemies in a somewhat open area, but you can also just run right past this entire fight by heading to the left once you enter the room. I take the time to clear out a couple who followed so they wouldn't come after me in the next room while I dealt with Dino and saved Nick. He kinda just looks at me for a few seconds, all the while I am rapidly trying to talk with him to get a move on. Once he breaks into a jog, I jump down first and begin clearing out the reinforcements. The fight out's more of the same, honestly. The only real difference is I have to wait around sometimes for Valentine to unlock the doors. I can get some quick free heals though from the water fountains, which is pleasant. Once we make it back to the vault door, we are stopped by Skinny, Darla, and some backup. This was one of the only times I did anything with my charisma investment, as I convinced her to run home to her parents. This made Skinny so distraught that he just lets us leave without a fight. It's also what I meant by in the beginning that it's normally just faster to start blasting, as there is a good chunk of unskippable dialogue here between Nick, Skinny, and Darla while I just wait around for the check. I most certainly could have saved up to a minute of time if I just unloaded into all of them. Regardless, what's done is done, so once back outside I send Nick off to Diamond City, and I do an immediate 180 and run towards Good Neighbor. Upon your first arrival, you're approached by this fine specimen. I kill him, of course, because again, faster than chatting, get praised by Hancock, and then, thanks to the game not counting your manipulation of the physics engine as stealing, I move the nearby fat man up the stairs and take it for my own uses. This is the equivalent of me running off at the start of the Skyrim run to get the ebony weapons. Is it necessary? No, but it will most certainly help to speed things along if I use it right. I then sell just about everything I swipe from the Triggerman to Cleo and use the funds to buy more 10mm rounds as well as the classic 10mm pistol. Not only does it do more damage than the normal Fallout 4 variant, but it looks cooler to boot, so an upgrade on all fronts. The game glitched ever so briefly however, as the weapon was invisible. Messing around fixed it quick enough though. I nearly wasted this entire trip in the end, as it was only right before I left that I remembered to steal the mini nuke. Would have been mad awkward if I walked up to the fight all smug-like with no ammo. It is a short, danger-free jog west to Diamond City, and due to this being my first time here and skipping the initial meeting at the gate with Piper, the door is already open and the mayor is currently berating her. While this is all going on, I swipe Kellogg's house key from his trousers. I do a tad more shopping, this time for basic junk, and then use that ever so slightly to upgrade the damage of the new old pistol. 42 damage per shot is not too shabby, especially if you just mash the trigger like a madman in most encounters, like myself. Time was crucial though, so I spoke with Nick, went through the detecting phase as fast as feasibly possible, then ran straight over to Kellogg's house to pick up the trail as well as swipe all of his supplies. I then let Dogmeat take a huff and a puff, increasing his cool factor by 10%, before fast travelling back to Red Rocket, and this time began sprinting southwest to Fort Hagen. Inside the fort, and it's somewhat of an even playing field between the synths and I. We both pack a punch, although that could be down to the fact I have next to no energy resistance, go figure. The classic 10mm is awesome though. It tears through some of the even higher ranking bots with little effort. I also started to make use of VATS while I was here, just a little bit though, didn't want to waste too much time in its slowed down state. Mainly, I used it when they got too close so I could light them up before they would melee me, as well as allow me to bank a crit for later. Was mildly concerned about the patroller near the end, as he has killed me in the past when I've come here unprepared. He still may have done so if not for Dogmeat pinning him down for me, stopping him from fighting back, and allowing for an easy kill. All that left outside of a few turrets was Kellogg himself. Doesn't take a genius to figure out that's what the fat man and banked crit were for. I was not taking any chances of this man wasting my time today, so I decided before even recording that I would simply erase him from existence through sheer overkill. The two synths are no better than the countless others we scrapped, so I deal with them thanks to Old Reliable. On my way out of the fort, and I checked on the battery life for the first time, and after 1 hour and 14 minutes of playtime, it was already down to 55%. Not ideal, but I didn't let that dissuade me from pushing on, so it was back to Nick, then off to Good Neighbor for the Memory Den section. While, yes, you can skip all the non-plot important flashbacks as the game attempts to flesh out Kellogg's character post-disintegration, you still must wait around for the final one to conclude before you can get sucked back to the real world from the TV. The game's about to adopt the Fallout 3 filter as we head for the glowing sea, but before that, I travel back to Diamond City for some daylight robbery. Like, literally though, I steal Arturo's keys during broad daylight so that I may slip into his house and steal his mini-nuke as he just leaves it casually sitting on a table. Once again, I begin running as fast as my little legs will carry me, all the way to and through the glowing sea until I arrive at Virgil's house. It might seem like I'm skipping a ton, but I'm really not. I just booked it past every mutated creature in my path, and none of them tried to follow me for very long. Time is of the essence, and I don't have enough to spare to get repeatedly eaten by deathclaws. After skipping through the conversation, the next step is green tech, of course. Thankfully, marking it beforehand saves us some time now. Suffer my first death here, though. Once again, lacking energy resistance is proving to be a problem when half your adversaries are packing laser beams. That said, I probably shouldn't have ran straight for them. Melee mentality Nerbit strikes again, I fear. Next go around, and I take a slightly smarter approach. By which, I mean I finally used some of those frag grenades I've been holding on to since Sanctuary. This deals with the first batch without issue, allowing me to push on ahead. The rest were simple enough with the extra breathing room. That said, it should be noted I miraculously tanked a hit from the notorious missile launcher wielding gunner somehow. Guess I chose correctly, taking perks like Lone Wanderer and multiple ranks of toughness. If only I also had the foresight to up perception for Refractor. Regardless, I push on, only burning through a few stim packs before arriving at the pseudo-boss fight. Identical to the Kellogg fight, or what would have been the Kellogg fight I suppose, as he just shoots you while using stealth boys and stim packs to make things more tedious. I started the fight by tossing the frag grenade at his feet, then getting the most out of my high agility stat by using all of my action points and VATs. If I was clever, I would have saved a crit again. This takes him to about half, and then I just rapid hip fire as fast as I can. This doesn't manage to kill him, and he pops the stealth boy. Typically, I would then easily see where he was, return fire, and win. However, sitting as far away as I am from this tiny screen legit made it difficult to see exactly where he was until he began firing back. It didn't make the encounter any more difficult, but did stand to waste a few seconds, which isn't great. Once he goes down and I safely remove his USB drive, it's time to make my way for the railroad. If you decide to bring the chip to them and let them decode it, they will just yap on and on and on, and that is just not a time loss I want to deal with. So now you know what the second mini-nuke was for. Look at me trying to rationalise wiping them out like that wasn't just going to happen anyway. Best part about all of this was twofold. Firstly, I got Glory's armoured coat, which was better than everything else I had on, plus a huge increase to my energy resistance. And secondly, once they are dealt with, I can swipe just a whole horde of healing supplies. Enough that I shouldn't need to worry about shopping for more until the final battle. I return to Virgil with the decoded chip, get the teleporter plans, and now it's time to get help building the thing. The Minutemen are definitely back in Sanctuary by now, so are by far the fastest option, as all I'll need to do is help out Preston with his first reading quest, and then they are good to go. Naturally, it is Tenpine's bluff as per usual, but today I lucked out big time. Rather than them sending me to Corvega to deal with Jared, as is the most common option, they instead sent me to deal with Sparta and his gang at the regional office, a location I just so happened to pass by earlier while making my way for the Old North Church. As you can see, it's also much smaller than the Corvega plant, so I deal with the entire gang in less than 2 minutes, as they're all pretty much just in the next room once you enter the building. Back to Tenpines, then Sanctuary, and it's time for the constructing. Through a mix of luck and when I bought that junk earlier, I had everything I needed to build the parts, so no time loss on Diamond City shopping montages. Huzzah! Small unskippable sections of standing around back to back are mildly concerning, however. But once I get to talking with Father after his incredibly insensitive prank of briefly gaslighting his own mother into thinking her son was a robot, I agree to work with him and quickly speak with all the other bigwigs to start following his path to the finale. As far as I can tell, it is the fastest one from this stage. My first task is to go and find a synth who thinks he's a raider, so I teleport back to the church as it's the closest to his location and start making my way there. We get help from X688 for this, but honestly, after the greeting, I never saw him until we used the recall code. It's all more raiders, so nothing out of the ordinary, mind you. I lucked out during all of this, as the aggressive one with the fat man did not decide to give me a taste of my own medicine, which was nice. While Gabe is getting rebooted, I gunned down his bodyguards, and because I left some of his followers alive, I'm not allowed to immediately travel back. I fixed this by diving into the ocean and swimming far enough away from the danger. Father thanks me for the help, I waste time getting allocated a bedroom, and then it's time for the Battle of Bunker Hill. Or, in my case, the minor inconvenience of friendly fire near Bunker Hill. Sure, I could run in, fight the Brotherhood, fight the Railroad, and then locate and recall the escapees, but the quickest way to finish this is to simply gun down the courser who has been sent to assist you. Doing so gives you the objective to meet with Father on the roof of the CIT building right away, effectively skipping the entire quest. Sure, he is furious that you've messed things up this bad, but other than that, there are zero repercussions for this. Neat. Once more, we teleport back to then sit through more dialogue, some that is unskippable for whatever reason, and in the process get made Father's successor and be informed he will be dying soon for plot reasons. No time to think about that, it's off to mass fusion. Again, another reason we're going this path is we can teleport there instantaneously, whereas the Brotherhood needs to fly over there in a vertibird, and the Minutemen would be too busy getting eaten by crabs at this stage to care. I shoot a few of the Brotherhood members in front of me when I arrive, but what I'm really here for is the card key that allows me access to the lower levels for the agitator. I then jump off the side for the good neighbor skip, miss and die, then try again and succeed. I rush back to the building to take the lift to the bottom, pop some Rad-X to survive the insane radiation, then swipe the plot device. This activates the security system, so I need to deal with a sentry bot followed by 2 Assaultrons. The sentry bot's tough, but lacks the ability to squeeze into tight spaces around the room, so by getting the right angle on him, I can quickly whittle him down until he explodes. The Assaultrons, though? Well, I had a plan for them. I made sure to keep the missile launcher and 3 missiles from that gunner in green tech, so was able to quickly dispatch one of them with all that. I also somehow managed to avoid their death lasers by running in circles around the lower section, to which I just dealt with the final one with more rapid firing of the classic 10mm. Seriously, this gun packs such a punch. After this, it's just a few more Protectrons and turrets that need to be dismantled to end the lockdown, but after that, we're home free to return to the Institute. All we need to do now to finish the quest is speak with Ali Fillmore, and then...
Ah, fuck.
Who saw that one coming? The final time was a little over 2 hours and 40 minutes, so close to that of the Skyrim run, which had the battery die after 3 hours and 5 minutes. More taxing games drain the battery faster, clearly, and in the case of these Bethesda titles, too fast for me to be able to finish either of them. Kinda figured that's what was going to happen before attempting this one, but still, I wanted to try it regardless. But hey, they're adding Oblivion Remastered to the Switch too soon, so that's cool. If how that game runs on the other more powerful modern consoles is anything to go by, then we can expect to probably get a whole 30 minutes out of it before it sucks the Switch dry. Regardless, that's going to be the end of the challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving the video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to run these videos out fairly frequently. My name's Nerbit, stay safe everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.